It is the morning of my second day in Capital Reef National Park, and it brings me to the Grand Wash area. I think it's about 9 in the morning. Looks like the light is just starting to run down the side of the canyon walls, which is giving me just a little bit of a glow. So there's a couple compositions here I found yesterday while I was scouting around that one of which I'm going to try to set up and see if I can get framed, and with any luck I'll get some good light. We'll get that shot wrapped up this morning. The weather reports from yesterday reported lows of potentially 20 degrees in the park last night. I got in my truck this morning and the display showed 18 degrees, so I can confirm that was correct. But thankfully the sun did decide to come up again, which I was a little worried at first that maybe it wouldn't, and the entire planet would just plunge into the blackness of outer space and freeze to death. So fortunately that didn't happen. I admit I may have spent the majority of the morning so far from the warmth of my truck sipping coffee, checking out the light on the canyon walls from the warmth of my Forerunner. But who can blame me? But now I guess it's time to get to work, so. I think I got it framed the way I want it. I had to move my tripod several times to get all the elements I wanted, and not all the elements I didn't want it. But now I'm just waiting for light. I did fire off some shots just to capture something, kind of a safety shot kind of idea. And now I'm just waiting for this light source behind me to come under direct sunlight and hopefully reflect some light down in my scene. So what I'm shooting is this tree that's behind me. It's not the most perfect tree, and I think that's why I like it. It's kind of a little ragged looking on one side of it. But I mean, I'm not looking for perfection, I'm looking for interest, you know. I think it's an interesting looking tree. And then with the stripes of desert varnish on the wall behind it too, I think it just really adds a really cool element to it. I'm getting a little bit of a glow here from this wall, but I'm hoping the one that's immediately behind me will get a little more sunlight on it and start to intensify the scene a little bit for me. But I've probably got, I don't know, an hour and a half. So I probably got some time before it fully develops. So I might just leave my tripod here and kind of search around. Yesterday when I was here looking at this scene, I did see a couple more angles that might be cool to try to get. But I think I'm going to sit on this for now, just because it looks like a really good photograph. And then I'll kind of scope around and see what else there is that I might want to set up for, and see what happens. Standing here is probably the worst part because that doesn't get the blood pumping very well. It's starting to feel on ice. Sun needs to hurry up and light up my shot so I can get it and go do a hike. Warm up. That'd be nice. Well, we're getting there, but still waiting, trying to hold out just a little longer, see if I can get a little more light on this back wall here. I have this nifty little app that shows the angle of the sun and the arc it takes across the sky, as well as the times of when it'll be where. And I'm hoping this canyon will light up here in about an hour or 2 hours. Gives me some time to kill though, so I might head back for the truck and try to get some breakfast in the meantime and just leave the tripod where it is. Finish my coffee. Well, I got my wish, and this back wall here is completely lit now. and it's bouncing a lot more reflected light into my scene. And it made a big difference too. I had to change my shutter speed just to keep the same aperture because of all the additional light coming in. And I took a safety shot too, so I'll show you the before and after so you know what I'm talking about, just how big a difference that makes. And I'll show you what I got going on here. So I went for a vertical composition on this one, just to try to get as much of that desert varnish wall as I could. And there's trees to the side each side that I'm trying to eliminate from the composition. Base ISO as usual, f11, shutter speed of 1/10, gives me pretty decent exposure, it looks like, nothing clipped. And then I'm also focus stacking this one just because there's quite a bit of distance between that tree and the back wall. I like to use the screen to zoom in here and focus. Get everything nice and sharp. And then 2-second timer. And I got my touchscreen set up to where it triggers on touch, just so I don't shake the camera so bad from trying to hit the shutter button. And then we'll focus on the tree, get it nice and sharp. And then I'm doing one more for foreground, even though that's about the same focal distance as the tree, just for safety. Also gives me an alternate foreground shot just in case I'm focused wrong. And then I'd like to do one more when I focus stack, and I'll put my hand in front. That just gives me a foolproof way to mark in camera which images go to what focus stack. So when I load this up on Lightroom, I'll see several shots of my hand, and I know that everything in between that goes together. So just a real simple way to keep that wrapped up. And I think that's a wrap. Well, I think I got that one in the bag. Packed up my gear and my tripod, and I'm gonna head back to the truck now and go get warm. I think this cold temperature's got a way of just sapping out your will to take photographs. The things we do for compelling images, man. But I think I'm gonna check out this hike that's here at the very end of the Grand Wash. It's only, I don't know, a 1.5 mile long hike or so. And then depending on how much time we got left, may head to the other wash and see about the other shot that I had picked out and see what the light looks like there. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Well, I elected to jump on the Cassidy Arch trail, which is a modest 800 feet of elevation gain and about 1.5 miles one way. That'll warm me up real quick. I'm not so worried about being cold anymore. Well, that's where I was not long ago. If you got rappelling gear and patience for a noob, get at this guy. I'm gonna learn to do that. I found this spot in a sandstone that I bet when it's wet and raining, it's probably just a big sink. It's like a big drain hole. The water's just pooled up and run through the sandstone. It's pretty cool. I like the way the canyon walls look, but I'm not sure there's a composition here. The back walls here would be directly lit in the morning, which probably isn't ideal, but there's a juniper tree in the foreground here that's kind of cool too. Maybe with the direct light on the walls, it would backlight the tree. Although I got a feeling the dynamic range would just be too high and it'd blow out. So that's the tree. The walls in the back. It's cool. I don't know if I can make a composition out of it, but definitely glad I climbed up here. Well, if you keep walking down Grand Wash, it starts to slot up a little bit. It's about 1.5 miles in, and it's kind of reminiscent of a place that I'm quite familiar with working in, minus the river, which is a good thing, because if this was a river right now, I'd probably be getting flushed out like I was in a toilet bowl. Flash floods here apparently made this entire park and the whole place, it looks like it. It looks like just a bunch of big gutters. You wouldn't want to be caught down here when it's raining and flash flooding at all. But there's a couple areas so far that I found that have some pretty good glows to them. But I mean, all the color in here is gone. The trees are pretty bare, so you probably have to work a little harder to find something with some foreground interest. But it's there. I haven't really found it yet, but I know there's compositions here somewhere. May not be the right time of year. But it definitely looks like if you were here probably a month early, you'd have plenty of stuff to shoot. Some of these bushes and stuff would look like they're in pretty good areas with good glows. It's just nothing on them. It's all on the ground right now. I'm also noticing a pattern in that all the deciduous type trees, bushes that turn color, they're all done. But you still have Douglas fir and juniper trees that stay green all year round. Pretty much all the compositions I found so far have been, interesting looking green tree up against a red sandstone wall, which, I mean, it's kind of one of the main things I came to this park for, was in search of that. But I'm struggling with diversity of compositions here. I hope this doesn't turn out to be, half a dozen shots of the same concept, but it's there. I just got to get more creative and keep my eyes open. But so far, every one of them's been that. I don't know if you've ever tried sesame seaweed snacks before, on purpose anyway, but they're not actually all that bad. I left the Grand Wash area and came up by the Sunset Point. I'm actually on Sunset Point, and it's getting close to sunset. I can see why they call it that. But way behind me there, kind of right about there, is where we were. So we're pretty close to the entrance to the park right now. It's got a really cool panoramic view of like the entire sandwich that makes up the Colorado Plateau. I think it's cool. It's kind of not that frequent, for me anyway, that I get to a viewpoint where you can see like the entire thing, all the layers of the crust. It's actually pretty cool. I just did the gooseneck overlook that has a little plaque that has some information on it. And I didn't realize that the lowest layer of crust that you can see in Capitol Reef is actually the top layer of the Grand Canyon. That gives you any sense of scale for how deep that Grand Canyon is. Well, after sundown, I ran up in closer to town to get some cell service and check the weather forecast, and looks really good for the next couple days. There was a partly cloudy day on there, and it's gone. It looks like it's just going to be sunny for the next 2 days. But the day after that, it calls for rain, so I'm going to be on the lookout for that, because with as cold as it is, if it's going to rain, that means snow and ice, and I don't think I'm down for that. So I don't think I'm equipped for that. So my time here is limited to a couple more days. Hopefully I can be productive with that. I may have cheated after sundown and ran to the pizza place that's just before the park to warm up and get some Wi-Fi. But that was much needed. That was very nice. So now I got some leftover pizza for the morning. That'll be great, especially when I'm freezing cold and ready to eat something and don't want to eat cold cereal. So Even though I really only set up and got one shot, that was a shot that I really wanted. So that doesn't bother me at all to sit on that one and have that be the only one. Hopefully it turns out. I think it will. Unfortunately, with as cold as it is and as dark as it is, there isn't much else to do other than get ready for bed and go crawl in my sleeping bag. So I think I'm going to call it right there. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Catch you in the morning.